Okay, so again, we're going to go over the notes. You're going to take the quiz. That's basically, if you go to modules, the weird thing is there's not a lab module for this section. So for this section, we're just doing it on our own. So I did these notes right here. This is where you will find the notes I'm going over and the fill in the blank notes. You will need to turn these in. They're worth 5 points.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
They're worth 5 points.
They're worth 5 points.
But like, if you do it, it goes into a 100, right? In the grade book.
It'll be 5 out of 5, yeah.
Which is
We don't do percentages here. We do points. It makes it much easier for you. As you get older, you will love a point system because guess what? All you have to do is go into Power Teacher Pro, which I mean that's going to give you the answer anyway. But like in college, for instance, you'll be able to easily do your grades. You don't have to do all these percentages to check behind you to make sure your grade's right. Literally, all you do is divide the amount of points you have over the amount of points possible, and that's your grade. There's nothing weighted. You see what I'm saying? Like if you take a test that's worth 10 points and you have a project that's worth 20, then the project's worth 20 points more than the test. Nothing's weighted besides the amount of points that each item is worth. It basically takes test and throws the weight of test out the window, and it just makes everything the same. But now if you have a test, yeah, so it doesn't. The tests don't matter necessarily as much unless there's a 100-point test and everything's worth 5 points. It is weighted in a way because the points make the weights. But for instance, for this class, you have like your post test half the time will like technically they're out of 100 points, but one day I may change that and it might be 20. But either way, I give you multiple attempts, so I'm not really worried about that right now. But in the future, like if you were taking this class and I wasn't worried about multiple attempts because the people at home could cheat, then most likely I would make each question worth 1 point. The test is now worth 20 points. Meanwhile, you have 2 things of notes worth 10. You usually have 2 or 3 activities worth 5 or 6 points. Then that means basically that the test is only like not even worth as much as all the other activities. If that makes sense. So it actually works out better for you. And most likely in college, you will not have weighted grades after a while. After a while, you'll get into classes and it'll all be points. At least it was for me. So. Okay. So it's 12 slides. It's really not bad. It is a lot of information. All right. So make sure you get these notes out. This will not take long. We're going to get done with this really quickly, and then we'll do a March Madness bracket. Yes.
What?
It is under 360. It is under module H, I think HR 360, if I'm not mistaken. They are under HR 360.
Did you break the rim again?
Yeah, they did. It got broken again.
Is it fixable?
I don't know. It's pretty rough. It's in rough shape. They didn't tape it well at all, actually. Okay, so everyone can see where that is now. What now? We played review basketball in my 4th period last week. But then it was in my 1st period on Friday that they broke it. And actually, it wasn't even my students. It was Miss Hudson's students. It was Tyler Duke. And
One bit.
And Jonathan Johnson. John Jones. Alrighty. Let's just straddle this thing again. What the heck? It's annoying. Alright. So orient new employees. Orient new employees. I actually came up with an activity to do for this event, but I'm not gonna make you do it because it's for the honor section that I will be having next year. So yeah, y'all won't be doing that activity because you're standard. So congratulations. All right. So, an effective orientation will foster an understanding of business culture, its values, and its diversity. Help the new employee make a successful adjustment to the new job. Help the new employee understand his or her role and how he or she fits into the total organization. Help the new employee achieve objectives and shorten the learning curve. Help the new employee develop positive working relationships by building a foundation of knowledge about mission, objectives, policies, organization structure, and functions. Basically, we are all talking in this about training your new employees and making sure they understand how the business functions. They may not get everything on the first day, but the first things you want to make sure they understand are the basics of the business. And those last few things we talked about in that last point right there, the mission, objective, policies, organization structure, and functions, that's going to be your main thing you want to make sure that your new employees are learning. So orientation overview of the company and its operations. That's what orientation means. Job-specific training, that's going to be the next thing you do after orientation. This usually combines group learning in a classroom setting and hands-on training. Hands-on training often includes job shadowing. The new employee works side by side with the experienced employee to learn the specific task of the job. So, for instance, if it's even in a maintenance shop or somewhere that it's actually in a factory, they will be going down in the factory and probably working with someone very close that will be working with them on a usual basis. They may even work on the item a little bit with the supervision of the seasoned employee, their veteran employee. In a marketing job or like a sales job, they might go on a sales call with the again the veteran employee to kind of learn how to do it. Just things like that. There'll be tons of basically work experience that they're needing to learn, and they need to learn it quickly. Um, the funny thing is, you'll go to college for 4 years. Most of you will probably go to college. If you don't go to college, whatever. But if you go to college, you'll go to college for 4 years. You'll get out, and guess what? They'll basically have to retrain you to do whatever job you are doing. You know, what you learn in college isn't necessarily going to directly prepare you for your job. It's going to prepare you for multiple other things, but it might not even directly prepare you for your job. Unless you're becoming a nurse or a doctor, then probably will prepare you pretty well. But you're still going to have orientation, understand how like the hospital runs or how how the medical facility runs, things like that. So you'll find that all out as you get older. You'll see that the things you learn in college are helpful and they like the knowledge is there, but at the same time, a company has a way of doing things and they're going to reteach you basically how to do those items. All right, purpose of orientation. To reduce startup costs, so proper orientation can help the employee get up to speed much more quickly, thereby reducing the costs associated with learning the job. So again, if you go ahead and train them at the beginning and not assume that they know everything, then it'll help you out in the long run. To reduce anxiety, so any employee when put into a new strange situation will experience anxiety. Yeah, they're going to get stressed out, so you don't want that to happen. To reduce employee turnover, if you don't train them well, they're probably going to be like, well, they didn't even tell me what to do, and now they're mad that I'm not doing it right, so I'm going to leave. To save time for a supervisor and coworkers. So again, if you don't train someone, they don't know what they're doing. It's going to take other people in the business to basically, come in and kind of save the situation, if that makes sense. Develop realistic job expectations, positive attitudes, and job satisfaction. Again, you're going to be satisfied with your job if you know what you're doing. But if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to be very satisfied. Some of these concepts are very simple. So before the employee arrives, the new employee orientation process begins before the employee comes to work. Planning ahead for your new employee arrival will allow you to spend productive time on that first day. So before the employee arrives, you should notify everyone in your unit that a new person is starting and what the person's job will be. Prepare interesting tasks for the employee's first day. Make a copy of the job description card, job vacancy listing, job performance standards, Kansas organization chart, your department's organization chart. Enroll the employee in new employee orientation class. Make sure the employee work location is available, clean, and organized. Make sure a copy of appropriate personal policy manual contract available for the employee. Have a benefit information package available. If possible, identify a staff member to act as a buddy or / mentor the first week. Put together a list of key people the employee should meet in the interview to get a broader understanding of the roles. Arrange for building pass, parking pass, IDs necessary. Draft a training plan for the new employee for the next few months. Again, as I stated earlier, Um, the purpose of your orientation, the purpose of your job training those first few weeks is to make sure that that employee can come to work after about the first few weeks and be rolling. They are basically just like any other employee at this point. They get it. Yes, they're going to have some questions here or there, but they know their job. But before they get there, if you do all these things, you can be more time efficient. And what is one thing we have learned? Time is what? Time is money. So if you can train them and get all of the stuff they need done on day one instead of doing all of these things, then you're a lot better off. For instance, um, that's not a good example because they're not very good at doing that. I'm recording. Anyway, well that's not necessarily their fault. Okay, I'll take that all back. You're kind of right. When I came to work, and a lot of the business part's been a little difficult. It's a lot easier when you come in a normal situation. I came to work mid-year. I came to work right after spring break here as a. I was still technically in college when I was a business teacher here, but I got early release. It's a long story. Miss Haddock came kind of mid-year. Coach Price came mid-year. The only business teacher recently who came at the beginning of the year was Coach Taylor. So that being said, his stuff went a little bit easier. But when you know that someone's coming, so they kind of knew I was coming, so they got my name in the system. They got all of my information kind of in there. I still had to wait a little while for like a few different things, but they went ahead and got me in my Canvas course. So they did do a really good job with that. And that made it where on day one, I could start working. Now, I still had a lot of things to learn. I had to learn, like, who is the CTE department chair? Who do I need to go to ask for some time off? Who do I need to do for, who do I need to talk to do this and that? And all of those things. But with some of that stuff already taken care of, I didn't have to sit around waiting to start my job. I could go ahead and start teaching and start learning as I'm going. And a lot of times, if you can just kind of get some of those processes started, like we're talking right here, then it'll help in a major way allow the business or organization to start working earlier. So, key planning questions. So, human resource professionals and line management managers first need to consider key new employee orientation planning questions before implementing or revamping a current program. These are key questions to ask. What things do new employees need to know about the work environment that would make them more comfortable? What impression and impact do you want to have on a new employee the first day? What key policies and procedures must employee be aware of the first day to avoid mistakes on the second day? What special things, desk, work area, equipment, special instructions can you provide to make new employees feel comfortable? What positive experiences can you provide for the new employee that she could discuss with her family at the end of the first day of work? Or he, I don't know why it had to be a she. He or she, the experience should be something to make the new employee feel valued by the organization. How can you help the new employee supervisor be available to the new employee on the first day to provide personal attention and and to convey a clear message that the new employee is important and additional work to the work team. Sorry, I jumbled my words there at the end. For instance, my first day, Mr. Marsh saw my desk at the front of the room. It was that desk, and he said, I can get you a new desk if you really want a new desk. And it made an impact. I was like, hey, he cares. He wants to get me a new desk. I was fine with that desk. I was just happy to have a job. So I really didn't care. And I was like, honestly, this could have been my desk and I would have been fine. But to put that all in perspective, that was something he did. It's just one thing that he wanted to make sure, I felt, valued. He offered during spring break for me to come out and kind of clean up my room if I wanted to, put anything on the walls. I didn't have anything to really put on the walls, but I ended up, as you can see, I've gotten a lot of flags now. But those are just some things that he wanted to make sure I felt welcome and that I felt of value. So he did a good job with that, for example. And then I think, I got a mentor who helped me a lot, and that was important as well. Mr. Weston was mainly my mentor, so good job, Mr. Weston. All right, first day on the job. So a new employee may be anxious about starting a new job. Try to create a comfortable environment and remember not to overwhelm the new employee with too much information first day. Orientation is a continuing process, so there will be plenty of time to give the employee all the necessary information on the first day. You should give a warm welcome and try to reduce any nervousness the new employee may feel. Discuss your plan for the first day. Introduce the employee to other staff members. Arrange to have lunch with the new employee. Show the new employee around the office. Review the job description card and organization chart with the employee. Explain the ride sharing and transportation service if necessary. Review telephone, fax, email, and internet use. Give the employee the new employee benefits packet. Explain any policies concerning probationary period before they become regular status employees. Discuss what the probationary period is all about, and explain how and when the employee performance will be appraised during the probationary period. Have the new employee complete all the necessary personnel forms. For teachers, it's not as bad, except for, I guess, lateral entry teachers like Miss Haddock and Coach Price and Coach Taylor. You've had an internship where you've basically taught, so it's not like it's your first day teaching. So it's really not that big of a deal. I came in mid-year, the kids hadn't had a steady teacher, so that wasn't that big of a deal either. So they kind of were used to the situation. I will say it was a little nerve-wracking my first day. I remember I was standing like right there, and it was a Word and PowerPoint class. It was first period, and it was a little more nerve-wracking because I was like, "This is it. This is me from the get-go. I have to make an impact on these kids now." Because honestly, I had like a month and a half with those other kids, which I think most of those kids enjoyed that class, and I did okay, but it was a big difference when it came to like starting on that actual first day of work. It was just interesting. Okay. I was seeing what they were saying. I didn't know if they needed me. Follow-up meetings. So over the next few weeks, schedule meetings with the employee to discuss following. Employees' overall impressions, organization of the business, mission statement, performance evaluation process, department work rules, controlled substances. So again, I don't know why they're talking about. Yeah, obviously the business will not tolerate illegal substance or abuse of legal substances. You can't be drinking on the job. All of these things are basically just important, but it's things you might just want to re-go over just to make sure they understand, and they kind of have a good understanding of what's going on. And then lastly, to follow up on more, you've got security, safety, injuries on the job, training, training plan, and then other resources. So all of these things basically. I really thought you were making 1 minute.
I know.
Dang it. I was like, I'm getting observed again. Actually, I have been observed
this week? I might just like sit there. Y'all got 2 full ones last week?
Yeah. I don't know. They must have had to observe a lot last week for some reason. But anyway, but yeah. So these are all the things you're going to want to go over. After they've been there, maybe even a month, you might want to keep going over these things. For instance, for Pitt County Schools, we have to do the safe school trainings about not standing up in chairs, cleaning up spills, things like that. Fun stuff. Don't. That's very dangerous. You could bust your head open and die.
That's true.
I just told you not to, though, so you probably will be done. That's not going to hold up very well in court. But yeah, and then discussing security, making sure, because anyone can do things like that. Internet safety, cyber security safety. Don't just plug in random flash drives that you find laying around. Even though I may do that just to see what's on them. I mean, they should be fine, but yeah, you want to know, like. No, in all seriousness, you're not supposed to do that. Stuff like that, they probably will go over. I had never thought about this, though, that when I taught cybersecurity, for instance, there was a part in the class where we talked about, potential threats. And a threat is, and I didn't think of a company doing this, another company, let's say Amazon versus Walmart, they're kind of the big internet sales people there after each other. Walmart, let's just say, takes a flash drive that has a big virus on it that will send all the information to their computers. They'll go take that flash drive and just lay it in Amazon's office. They'll just walk in, lay the flash drive down, and they know someone will eventually pick up that flash drive and be like, "What's on this?" And you're done. You plugged it in, they have access now. Isn't that crazy? It's been done. Not by Walmart. That was just an example. But other companies would do that. It's illegal, obviously, but not if you don't get caught, I guess. All right, so that is the PowerPoint we went over. Make sure you turn in those notes. You do need to take this quiz. It's worth 4 points. It's not that big of a deal. You have multiple attempts, so it will not take you long. I'm going to end the recording there. Have a good week. Make sure you get on the next couple days because we're going over a lot of stuff.